on the Brewers last night. Not a great pick. Adam Trigger after that. He's going to look at the Twins and the Royals and the Angels at the Blue Jays. We've got a late notice. Steve Merrill will be joining us. He had about 5 minutes of notice. I do not have his plays yet, but it will be 2 baseball plays, one being the Mariners and the Tigers. Teddy Covers is my co-host. You're watching the best daily sports betting show on the planet. And Teddy, what do we have in store for the listeners in your What Did Bettors Learn and Big Game Breakdown?
We're going to talk about Bet On It today in What Bettors Learned. I'm making my season debut for Bet On It. I believe it's the season debut for the show this year, but WagerTalk's flagship show. We'll talk about that in What Bettors Learned. As for Big Game Breakdown, we're going to talk Cubs Guardians, a wild one last night. Will we see a wild one again today? Stay tuned. That's coming up at the bottom of the hour.
Let's get straight into it. Ladies and gentlemen, the number one baseball expert at WagerTalk in 2024, Tokyo Brandon, joining us. How are you, my friend? What's going on?
What's up, guys? Glad to be your favorite guest back again. And I'm the $2 Tuesday capper. I got a huge play in MLB out today for just $2. How's it going, guys?
It's going good. Firstly, your voice sounds excellent. You're using some kind of different microphone with some nice resonance. I like it. Secondly, at no time did I call you my favorite guest. And thirdly, what an unbelievable year, my friend. Number one in all sports in 2024. Number one in all sports 3 of the last 4 years. Let's get straight to it, brother. You like the Mets tonight. Sure. They're a big favorite. So how do we bet this game?
I'm like Billy D. Williams, I got that smooth voice. So didn't you say I should be doing like a sex line or something like that?
Oh, yeah,
I'm working on that.
Oh, yeah.
I'm working on it.
But now that I've seen your outfit, I think maybe OnlyFans would be better.
Coming from a guy in a gray T-shirt, that's great to know. Let's get to the Mets and the A's.
Go.
Mets and the A's. We got Ross Stripling going with Paul Blackburn, and I've liked Paul Blackburn ever since he played for the A's. He's actually a really good pitcher if you watch him. But in my rankings, I have Paul Blackburn pretty average so far this season. I do my starting pitcher ranks on a curve of 30 so I can compare them to the bullpens and the hitters. And I have Paul Blackburn ranked 15, which is right on the Mendoza line of mediocrity. But I have Ross Stripling ranked 29.9. He's just awful. And, in his last 6 starts, he's given up 4 or more earned runs in 4 of those. He's got horrible stats. His whip is almost 1.5. So he's putting almost 1.5 guys on base every inning. Just a horrible pitcher. So that's how the starting pitching shakes out. On top of that, the A's bullpen is bottom 10. I have them ranked 21 out of 30. And their batting is 27 out of 30. So the A's just really don't have many redeeming qualities today. And the Mets, although they're not hitting that well, they do have a decent bullpen, and they're actually fighting for something. And they're at home. So I like the Mets here, but minus 160 is a little steep. So a good way to counter the price on this would be a -1. Most books offer a -1, and what a -1 is it's just a little less risky than the run line. If your team wins by 1, it's a push. So it's kind of like Pai Gow poker. You're going to push sometimes, but it's a lot better than losing, wouldn't you say? So I like the Mets -1 in this one, and I just checked. It was -120 for the Mets -1 at home with the better starter, the better hitters. I think it's a good bet. So I like the Mets -1.
Yeah, so the numbers that are showing on the graphic there with Oakland +125 and New York -145, those might have been openers. They lasted about 2 minutes. I'm seeing the Mets -185, -195. They're a lot right now than they were even an hour ago. Money's poured in on New York. At the current price, are the Mets still worthy of a wager despite their slump? I mean, they scored 3 of 1. They scored 1 run in 3 games over the weekend.
Yeah, but that wasn't against the A's. So, and it wasn't, I like them at home. They're a pretty good home team. And I just looked this up on Pinnacle. I know Pinnacle's not available in North
Yeah,
America,
we're
but
not going
they
to use
do.
names of any offshore books.
Okay. Well, it was minus
Offshore is
120.
fine.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, it
With
was
the minus
minus 120. So the minus one was minus 120. Different books are going to be different, but generally a minus one, you can shave about 30 cents off any price. So if it's minus 180, it's probably minus 150 for the minus one, whatever book you're looking at. So, yeah, I like it. The A's are not scaring anyone. With their lineup is third worst in all of MLB currently. Although the Mets are not really hitting that well, as I just said. Their bullpen's better. Their starting pitcher is better. So I think the Mets will have very little trouble handling the A's today. Ross Stripling is he's just imploded on the mound over and over and over again. And I think we'll see that again today.
Tokyo Brandon joining us, everyone. And as discussed, he is the $2 Tuesday handicapper. For those guys who are not aware of our $2 promo, every Tuesday we pick the hottest handicapper. And well, look at Brandon, man. I mean, enough said. As we discussed, number one all sports this year, number one in baseball this year. And he's got a big play lined up for you all. If you've never purchased from WagerTalk, if you've never played Tokyo Brandon, perfect time to do so. It's only $2. Not many things in the world today are less than $2. So please take advantage of that promo and grab Tokyo Brandon's big play for tonight. Tokyo, I was on the Brewers last night, and that didn't go very well. They're playing the Dodgers again tonight, and you've got a bet for us on this game. What is it?
I do. It did not go well for them last night because Clayton Kershaw had a pretty good game. And you notice when the Dodgers did put in their horrible pitchers from the bullpen, i.e. Joe Kelly, the Brewers immediately scored on him. And then the Dodgers got straight and put their good relievers in, i.e. Hudson and a couple of other guys. That basically the Dodgers used their good bullpen guys yesterday, aside from Joe Kelly. Unfortunately, we're not going to see Joe Kelly today. So the automatic runs are not going to be there for the Brewers. But the Brewers are hitting number 3 in all of MLB right now, which is better than the Dodgers. I like the Dodgers lineup, though, because they just got Mookie Betts back. Obviously, that's a plus. But I really like the Brewers lineup, especially after being held down by a really good pitcher in Clayton Kershaw yesterday. They're not going against a good pitcher today. They're going against Gavin Stone. And out of 30 pitchers on a curve, I have Gavin Stone ranked 27th. I realize his ERA is pretty good at a 3.71, which is not horrible in today's MLB. But his whip is 1.31. And if you dig deeper into his peripherals, he's actually not a good pitcher. He's given up 3 or more runs in 4 of his last 6 starts, and he's just not a good pitcher. I think this lineup is going to get to him, and after he exits, probably before 5 innings are up, they get to face the 19th ranked bullpen. The Dodgers have a terrible bullpen, and they used all their good guys yesterday. So I think that's going to open stuff up for the Brewers here. I think the team total of 3.5 is way too low for the Brewers. And if your book is at 4.5 now, which it probably should be, I like the over 4.5 as well. But the books that I'm looking at, they all had it at 3.5 still. A little pricey at minus 140. But if your book has switched it to the Brewers team total 4.5, you're probably going to get plus money for that. And I really like it. The Brewers should pretty much tee off on a terrible starting pitcher, chase him before 5 innings, and then tee off on a bullpen that used all their good guys yesterday. So Brewers team total over is a play that I like and release to my clients before this.
So I want to talk about Gavin Stone for a minute, because Stone is someone who pitched well over the first half of the season. Last time out, he was kind of plagued by the bullpen behind him as much as, as much as himself. And Dodger watchers that I'm talking to are saying, hey, there might be some upside with Gavin Stone. Do you think there's any upside with this guy, or is he pure fade for you, despite that strong first half and despite maybe pitching better last time out?
He's an innings eater, which he can give you some innings, but I don't think he's a starter. I think he's more like a middle relief. He can give you 2 good innings, but if you try to stretch him to 3 or 4 innings, he usually starts getting tagged in the 3rd or 4th inning. In his last 2 starts, he has not finished 5 innings. And the 2 times he did finish 5 innings in his last 4 starts, he gave up 4 earned in one of those and 1 earned in the other. Granted, those were against power hitting teams like the Astros and Red Sox. But he just gave 5 earned to the A's. And he, the good games that he had in the first half were mostly against pretty poor teams like the White Sox and the Rockies. So no, I don't have a lot of faith in Gavin Stone. I think he's more of like a 2-inning middle relief guy. And I think when hitters see him the second time, they pretty much tee off on him. And I think that's what we're going to see today. The Brewers don't have a history against him right now, so that is in his favor in the first couple innings. But the Brewers lineup, if you've been looking at them, they've just absolutely been crushing it up until yesterday. Sorry about your bet there, Prez, but with the team total, you don't have to worry about them winning the game. You just have to worry about them scoring. And I don't think they'll have much trouble scoring on Stone and a bullpen that just used all of their good arms yesterday.
Tokyo Brandon, everyone, the $2 Tuesday handicapper, as good as it gets over at WagerTalk. Thank you for joining us, my friend. We've promoted you. Kick ass tonight. I hope it is an easy winner. Guys, if you like what you're hearing, please take a second out of your day and hit that like button. Really appreciate all of you guys in the chat room. Randy Udaya, I haven't seen your name, Udaya, and Scott. Also, I don't see your name very often. Thank you for coming into the chat room. Stephen, Waj, all of you guys, Javier, Ray. Really appreciate you guys joining us. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, please do so. We got lots of betting information still to come with Adam Trigger and Steve Merrill. Teddy covers What Did Bettors Learn Last Night?
Well, this isn't something we learned last night. It's something we learned over the last, 5 years. There's lots of great shows on this network, all right? I'm personally partial to 2 of them. WagerTalk Today, which you do every day, every weekday, right here that you're watching right now. And, of course, the NFL Opening Line Report that I do each Monday with Drew Martin, 1 p.m. Eastern time. We've been doing that show together for many, many years now, as well as WagerTalk Today. That being said, the WagerTalk YouTube channel literally has dozens of shows, all kinds of content every single day from WagerTalk Media. The big one is Bet On It. It's our flagship product. We get 50,000 plus views during football season, hundreds of likes and comments. Nothing personal, Lawrence, but viewer-wise, it blows this show away. And your presidential address and my NFL Opening Line Report and anything else that we do. It's something that Marco and Johnny the Greek started. When WagerTalk first began, they got Kelly to host and the show's blown up. Ralph's TNA, Andy Lang props, they just keep adding quality pieces. So I'm going to be on the show at least for this week. We're recording today and potentially moving forward. We'll have to see. So I encourage you, check it out. I'll be sure to tweet. And if you're watching this show, you should be watching that show as well. Bet on it. Prez, catch the fever, my friend. We're recording again today. It should be posted either tonight or tomorrow.
Teddy, I think the show is outstanding. It's fine by me as one of the owners of WagerTalk that is our flagship show. It's very hard to compete with that show. It is excellently done, brilliantly produced. And I really love the history of that show the most, Teddy. I started the presidential address with Kelly. Then she moved to Bet On It. Then I adjusted and brought in Ralph. They moved him to Bet On It. Then I made another adjustment and brought in Andy. They then moved him to Bet On It. The only person they didn't move to Bet On It from every single thing I did was me. And the reason for that, Teddy, is I am still going to be doing the NFL presidential address. And I understand that I alone cannot compete with Bet On It. And I respect that, and I'm happy for it. But there will be an NFL presidential address this year as well. We'll talk about it throughout the season. And if you guys have not seen Bet On It, it is outstanding. Teddy, you're a wonderful addition. I think you break games down better than just about anybody in the world. I hope that you remain on that show, have an excellent season, because really, it doesn't get much better than you as a guest. As a co-host, I could list 14 people, but as a guest, you're as good as it gets, bro.
I appreciate your compliment, Lawrence, backhanded as it may be. All that being said, all I know is I'm doing today's show. We have no future, I haven't locked in for the season or anything like that. They asked me to do today's show. I'll do it. We'll see how it goes.
Guys, hit that like button, please. Only 25 likes. Tokyo Brandon's gone now, so you can continue. You can hit it more. I like taking the piss out of Tokyo Brandon, Teddy. Before we bring on Adam Trigger, man, it's a sad day for me, Teddy. My favorite show of all time is over, and I have 20 minutes left of the final episode. I'm gripped, and I don't want to watch it. If I watch it, then I can't watch it anymore. So I'm watching 5 minutes a day for the next 3 days. Vikings Valhalla, probably my favorite show of all time. Adam Trigger joining us. How are you, my friend? What's going on over there?
No, I'm doing good, guys. Thanks for having me, as always. Just adjust my mic here. Prez, Teddy, I was on the baseball show yesterday, and I asked myself a follow-up question in the form that, like, Teddy would ask me a question, and then I answered it. So Teddy's just rubbing off because in my breakdown, I said if Teddy was hosting, he would ask me this, and then I answered the question. So I'm just, I'm getting used to the follow-ups now, so much so that I'm asking them to myself on other shows, which I'm sure Kelly is not happy about because she's trying to get me to talk less, and now I'm asking myself follow-up questions.
Yeah, Adam, are you talking less? That just doesn't happen, bro. And it's okay. I enjoy hearing you. I keep putting you on the show against Teddy's wishes. Not true. Not true. Teddy loves you. Ad, let's get straight into it, man. The Twins and the Royals are tonight. How you betting this game?
Yeah, so this is a client play for me, 4%er. I decided to use it on the show because the number is long gone. I gave this to clients this morning at minus 107. Believe it's up to minus 130. I still think you can play it, just, obviously adjust accordingly. But that's not a move, in my opinion. That doesn't mean you can't play it at all. The reason for the move is probably Bobby Witt Jr. being out. He got hit by a pitch yesterday. Said in the postgame he was fine, but what I'm hearing is swelling, bruising, almost a guarantee that he's not going to play today. That's not why I bet this game, though. That's just the reason for the line move. I'm betting on Zebby Matthews here. It's his major league debut. If you watched Last Call on WagerTalk TV a couple of weeks ago, I was on with Kelly, and she, one of the viewers in the chat knows I do a lot with minor league baseball now and asked me for a minor league baseball play that day. And my response was, I really like this kid, Zebby Matthews. He's pitching for St. Paul, and he proceeded to have like the worst start of his minor league, season to this point in that game against Omaha. But I'm bringing that up because, he's a top prospect. And you're going to hear people break down this game and talk about, okay, top prospect in Twins organization, really good minor league numbers. But what I think needs to be pointed out, and as someone that's watched all of his minor league starts, he started the year in high A. So not only has he made his way to the majors, but he started the year in high A, went high A, double A, triple A. I mean, you don't see that very often, climbing the ladder that quickly, 4 different levels of professional baseball in one season. And I just think that there was a little bit of an adjustment process for him at triple A where he couldn't just throw the ball over the plate. You look at his minor league numbers this year, 97 innings pitched, 2.6 ERA. 0.87 whip, 114 strikeouts, but he doesn't really walk anyone. And what that tells me is at single A and double A, you can get away with the stuff, throwing it over the plate, and it's just, you're going to get it by hitters. But in his first couple triple A starts, he struggled with giving up hits. Balls were out over the plate, and big league hitters triple A hitters are big league hitters. They can hit that. Now, his most recent start, he made the adjustment. He pitched against Columbus. That's a triple A team for the Guardians. 5 innings, 2 hits, 1 run, and finally walked someone because he started pitching to the corners, and that's the type of adjustment that I expect him to bring into this start tonight. And as long as he's not putting the ball over the plate, the Royals are going to have a really tough time with him because his stuff is awesome, and he is that good. On the other side of the ball, we've got Seth Lugo. He's someone that I think has taken a little bit of a step back since his red-hot all-star first half. Got knocked around by the Red Sox last time out, 4 runs in 5 1/3. A couple times before that, got hammered by the Cubs. And the Twins have just seen Royals pitching well this year. They win last night easily, and now they're now 6-2 in the 8 games they've played against the Royals this season. And I also think yesterday is the Twins offense waking up. Their prior 6 games, just 19 runs total, could not get the hit with the runner in scoring position, could not just plate the run, but that kind of all changed last night in the win. So when I add it all up here, guys, you've got a prospect in Zebby Matthews that the Royals haven't really seen. More than likely no Bobby Witt for the Royals, and the Twins getting healthy. Miranda's back. Royce Lewis is back. Even if Buxton's out of the lineup tonight, I still think they get to Lugo at some point, and I think they end up winning this game.
So first 5 is -110 for Minnesota. Full game is more like -125. Just in hearing you talk about these two teams and talk about the matchup, it sounded to me like first 5 was really in your wheelhouse here. I'm curious why you would look at to lay 15 cents more for the full game. Is it not, it sounded like you liked one starter and not the other. Talk to me about that.
So I guess a couple of things. I mean, I have -107 for the full game, but we're talking in current what the lines are currently now. I still like the full game more for this reason. The Twins, their biggest issue this year or recently has been middle relief, but today's game sets up nicely for them in the middle innings to get to their higher leverage relief guys, which are the 2 guys at in the highest leverage spots for the Twins. Joan Duran and Griffin Jacks are very, very good. And they're going to have Jorge Alcala, who did not pitch yesterday, in the middle innings. So I think Matthews, let's put it this way. If the Royals do figure him out, he's probably going to go in that 4 or 5 inning range. But I think the Twins, it sets up for them to sort of, have their better relief arms in the positions that they want them in this game. And, based on Matthews' current couple starts at AAA, I think he probably gives us, 5 here. That seems to be what he's been going at AAA. So I don't dislike the first 5 by any means, but I do think that there's ways to beat in their bullpen as well. So to make the case for first 5 full game, if you go full game with the Twins, you at least get the later innings against the Royals in case Lugo has his good stuff, which, as you guys both know, when Lugo's been on this year, he's been very, very good. So preference to full game for the Twins, but I don't dislike the first 5 at all.
Adam Trigger joining us, everyone. Exclusive handicapper at WagerTalk.com, and he's got one more bet to give out. It's on the Angels and the Blue Jays, 2 teams heading in the exact same direction. How do we bet this game?
Yeah, Prez, you took the open of my handicap here. I said 2, I had written down 2 very similar teams. They're both they've essentially headed out of the race. But, interesting in the fact that both are playing better right now. I think that happens. These were 2 of the most lifeless teams in baseball for the first, 4 months of the season, right into the All-Star break. But you've got younger guys up really on both sides. Will Wagner makes his MLB debut, son of Billy Wagner, Hall of Fame closer, and had a great career. His son was one of the ones that got traded, in the Kikuchi deal. He makes his MLB debut last night for the Blue Jays. The Angels have had some younger guys up. Mickey Moniak finally playing well. It's been forever with him, but he's hitting over 400 in the month of August. So they really are both headed in the same direction. But that's really the point I'm going to make here when I talk about this game is there's really not a whole much difference between these 2 teams, yet the books still seem to price the Blue Jays like the premium option. When you put these 2 teams up against each other, I see 2 very similar teams that have young guys in the mix that are completely out of it, yet the Blue Jays get the market respect and the Angels don't. I can't explain why, but that's just how it is. And if they're going to continue to do that, the books that is, I think you're going to have to continue to oppose the Blue Jays in spots like this where you can either get plus money or the way I was looking, which is, the +1.5. It was a little bit expensive at minus 130. If this was more like plus 1.5, minus 110, it's probably on my client card today. Kevin Gossman, we know, gets respect in the market, and when he's on, he can be decent, but I don't think this has been a banner year for him by any means. His ERA is in the mid fours. He can be good when he's good. And Prez, this as a Blue Jays fan, when Gossman's on, he can be pretty good. But that Blue Jays bullpen is as bad as it gets. And I don't even think some of the numbers or just saying the Blue Jays bullpen is bad does it true justice. The Blue Jays bullpen WAR, wins above replacement for the Blue Jays bullpen, is minus 1.7. To put that into context, the Rockies are second worst in that same metric, 0.2. That is a massive difference. And the only team with a worse bullpen ERA in the league than the Blue Jays is the Rockies, and they, of course, play at altitude in Coors Field. The Angels, that's one area that they're kind of improving. So even though they traded away Estevez and they don't have great bullpen numbers, they're getting guys that I think are going to be good for next year. If you're a college baseball fan, you remember Ben Joyce from his days of throwing 105 for Tennessee. He's kind of become the closer. He's been great. He had a tough start to the season. He's been awesome of late. Hans Krause has been really good for them of late. So the Angels are going to have the advantage at the back end of this game. And then Fulmer, who's their starter, he's been very serviceable as a starter. Competitive outings pretty much across the board since moving into that starting rotation. I just don't see how the Angels should be getting a run, essentially, or being spotted a run on their home field. Like Prez said, two very similar teams, similar directions. I don't see a huge, either plus money or plus 1.5 has got to be the way to go with the Angels in this game.
So here's my question for you, Adam, and it's not about this game per se. Is there any money to be made with either one of these two teams down the stretch? Or is these teams, is it just bet against and bet against?
No, I love playing teams like this in September because both of these teams you should be able to find value with down the stretch because theoretically they're out of it. But like I said, I think you're getting an injection of some youth, guys that are playing for their futures. In the Blue Jays case, like you still got Vlad in the lineup, who's one of the hottest dudes on the planet right now. And, if they, let's say they call up Bloss, get some of these younger pitchers in, let's say they have a good stack of bullpen arms, you could justify playing on the Blue Jays. And then the same thing with the Angels. If they're going to have scenarios where they've got a decent starter, they've got Krause back there, maybe Joyce hasn't pitched in a couple of days like you're getting today. I don't think he's pitched since the 11th, which is now 2 days, of rest. He could probably come in the 8th if they needed him for an inning and a third or an inning and 2/3 today. I think that's how you bet these teams. Respectable starter, which I think you're getting in Fulmer here, decent bullpen stack, and then just try to ride the wave with them. Angels 5-4 in their last 9. It's notably better than what they've been. And I think that's how you bet teams like this down the stretch of Major League Baseball.
Awesome stuff. Adam Trigger, everybody. Ad, what do you got to promote?
I've got a 5% play MLB today. Baseball has been going great. And I think since June 1st, I believe I'm plus 48 units. So I turned around not so good April and a very average May with a pretty big run from now until June. I'm ahead in the season on Major League Baseball. I hope to keep that going. There's a spot I love tonight. It's a 5% play, and it's up now on my page, wt.buzz/AT. And I gave you a 4%er for free. Twins is a 4% play for me. Even at the current number, I think you should be betting it.
There we go. Adam Trigger, everyone. Outstanding job. Teddy covers. Let's keep the show moving along. It's time for your big game breakdown.
Big game breakdown for Tuesday, August 13th from WagerTalk Today, your sports central for gamblers. Each and every weekday, 9 a.m. here on the left coast and noon for you back east. If you like the show, please tell your friends about it. We appreciate all the support that we've been getting. Let's talk about the Cubs and the Guardians in Cleveland. Lots of Cleveland money this morning. I'm seeing Cleveland in the range of minus 145, minus 150 as we speak. Take back on the Cubs in the plus 130 range. You can find better if you shop around. And make no mistake about it, the Cubs are playing their best baseball of the season right now. Yes, they lost a wild game last night, 9-8. They're still 8-3 in their last 11 ball games. They still rallied from a 5-run deficit last night to make things interesting. This lineup's clicking right now. They've averaged more than 6 runs per game during this 8-3 run in their last 11. They've been real good off a loss, 4-1 their last 5 tries. They've been cashing as underdogs with a plus price win in every series since the All-Star break where they've been a dog. They notched an underdog wins versus the Brewers, the Royals, the Reds, the Cardinals, and the Twins already in since the break. And again, those are all plus price underdog wins for the Chicago Cubs. Here are the quotes from manager Craig Counsell about after last night's game. Quote, "We played really good offense, even had some balls hit with men in scoring position that didn't fall, especially early. We did make their bullpen work. Hopefully that pays dividends later in the series." Well, it's later in the series now. And the Guardians, we just had Adam Trigger on the show talking about how the Angels are playing 500 level baseball right now. The Guardians are a sub 500 team. They started 56-32. They're 14-17 their last 31 games. All right. Matthew Boyd was on the scrap heap earlier this year. Okay. They found him. He's pitched well at AAA. I'll give him credit. But this is not a front level starter. And all the Cubs hit lefties reasonably well. And the bullpen behind Boyd for the Guardians is showing cracks after really overachieving through the first half, through the first 4 months of the season. I think the Cubs are live dogs. It's a client play for me. Take Chicago at the plus price. And there's your big game breakdown. Back to you, Mr. Prez.
Teddy covers. We're just waiting on Steve Merrill. So if you don't mind, I would like to speak to you about the Atlanta Falcons. This team is minus 120 to win the division. I'd like to get your thoughts on that. Loaded with offensive talent in a really crappy division. I personally love that bet. I've made it myself. Do you have any opinions on the Atlanta Falcons going into the season?
Yeah, but unfortunately, I don't share your opinion on the Atlanta Falcons. Yes, there are 2 things to like about Atlanta. They have a boatload of quality skill position talent, and they have a very easy schedule. That is to like about them. I've got questions about their defense. I've got questions about whether Kirk Cousins is going to be able to be the same quarterback that he was coming off another injury in a new system without the practice time, without the playing time. Michael Penix is quarterbacking this team. I don't want Atlanta over anything. I don't want Atlanta to win any division. I don't want any part of it. All right. So you need Cousins, and you need Cousins at a high level. I haven't seen that yet. Obviously, he hasn't played this season. He's not even practicing. Guy's not healthy. So when Cousins gets healthy and we can start to feel like maybe he's got a rhythm here. The other problem with Atlanta, from a betting market standpoint, and this is key to note, their season wins correlate with point spreads. All right. And you see that very clearly for the week 1 numbers. You can go down and see that a half win in the season win market is worth X amount in the betting markets. But Atlanta's lined at 9.5 wins because of their schedule, not because of their talent. So I'm seeing Atlanta on a week by week basis because they're lined at 9.5 wins. They're being a little bit overpriced. So not only am I not excited about Atlanta to win the division, I'm not excited about Atlanta week by week either. I think you might make more money betting against this team than you will betting on them. So again, it's early opinions. It's nothing. One of the beauties about being a sports bettor, you can have an opinion in August and change it in September. But my initial lead on the Falcons is I don't see value and I don't see bet on with Atlanta. So good luck with your bet, Prez. Not one I'm going to join you on.
Teddy, one of our listeners yesterday, and then we'll bring Steve Merrill in. One of our listeners yesterday asked, and you write this unbelievable win-loss report. It's been up now for over a month. It's one of the best things anybody could get their hands on from a betting perspective. But one of our listeners asked, are these numbers adjusted based on what happens during the preseason?
They're markets. They move all the time. They're never static. They're always dynamic. There are periods of the year where the betting markets are quiet. They tend to be pretty quiet in July. Once preseason opens, the markets are bouncing all over the place. Every game you're going to see the bettors have opinions about what they just saw and make season bets as a result. So, yes, the numbers are moving right now. They will continue to move throughout the month of August, up until we approach the week 1 of the NFL season. That's why I like to put the numbers out, my bets out in July,
Right.
because that gives guys a little bit of time to shop around. Once the preseason starts, the numbers bounce every day. Certainly every week.
Teddy covers. Get that report, everybody. You can buy it over at WagerTalk. It's outstanding. I've gone through it. I've read every word. I love it. Thank you for putting the work in, my friend. Steve Merrill joining us. Steve, you had about 3 minutes notice to get on the show today. Greatly appreciated. I can always count on you. And I know you're hosting the show in my spot Thursday and Friday. Thanks for joining us. Let's get straight to it. Mariners at Tigers. How do you want to bet this game?
Yeah, interesting game to talk about here at 6:40 Eastern on Tuesday night. Mariners, as of early here Tuesday afternoon, have not listed a starter. They're undecided, but we do have a line on this game because Skubal's going for the Tigers, who's had a pretty good season overall, and he was a guy a lot of people thought would be on the trading block. Detroit turned out not to be quite the sellers we thought they might be, but their season is pretty much over. They're 7 games below 500, 9 games back of a wild card spot now, despite winning their last game on Sunday. They returned home here off of 1 day's rest after a road trip. This is historically not a good situation for teams, especially as a dog. But right now, not knowing the Seattle pitcher, they do have Detroit as a slight $1.15 favorite. But I'm going to stay away from the side in this game because I don't think it's a great setup for Detroit, even though they'll probably have the better pitcher on the mound. We'll look at the over 7. This currently is 7 under 20. We're getting over 7 even money. Now, if this was in Seattle, it'd be a totally different story. We know how Seattle is one of the most pitcher-friendly parks, T-Mobile Park, very low-scoring ballpark the last several years. And, in fact, these teams just played a 3-game set there a week ago, August 6th through 8th. We saw 6 runs, 7 runs at 8 3-game. The totals were 7.5, 7.5, and 6, which is kind of strange. Now we get a 7 here because Skubal's on the mound. But I don't think it's going to be a great pitching effort by Seattle tonight, so I think Detroit can get some runs. And the Mariners can also get to Skubal. In fact, the first game after the trade deadline, when he was not dealt, had one of his worst starts of the season a week and a half ago when he gave up 5 runs in 6 innings. Bounced back with a decent start against Seattle last week in that August 7th game, 7 innings, 2 runs. But the Mariners just saw him last week, which gives them an edge here in the quick rematch. I think this total is too low. If it was in Seattle, it'd be a different story. But this game is in Detroit, which is more of a hitter ballpark. I like over 7 even money between Seattle and Detroit tonight at 6:40 Eastern.
So you say that Seattle still hasn't named a starter. I keep assuming that Kirby's going to go for Seattle.
Yeah, he just was named as the starter.
Just now? Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it yet on my WagerTalk live odds stream, but
contrary to popular belief, I actually know my shit, even though I asked dumb questions to set you up with softballs. Sorry, Steve. Go on.
So,
yeah, go ahead.
As of now, on the WagerTalk live odds screen, we have not yet seen a starter. I think it's going to be George Kirby. Lawrence is confident it's going to be George Kirby. Kirby's an ace every bit as much as Skubal is, isn't he? Or is this a guy we might want to bet against in this spot? And given that these two hurlers just pitched a pitcher's duel in Seattle last week, wouldn't we expect more of the same here? Talk about the over with Kirby.
Yeah, first of all, I think they are pricing Kirby in at 7 to the under because he's a decent pitcher. I think this total is too low. So if he's not on the mound, the total is going to be higher. That's another reason I'd like to lock it in now. If you get action, most books back in the day, you always had to have listed pitchers on totals, but now it's kind of different everywhere. I actually like the fact that it's a quick rematch, Teddy. I mentioned that Seattle just saw Skubal, less than a week ago, and they didn't hit too well against him. I like these quick rematches. I don't, we talk about the zigzag in the NBA. You get a high-scoring game, you get a low-scoring game when you have the home-and-home rematches real quick. I think the fact that the hitters are more familiar with them second time around, I actually like the over more for that reason. So I'd have no problem with Kirby on the mound. He's got a 3.0 ERA. He's having a solid season, but that's also why we're getting over 7 even money, which is a very nice number.
Steve Merrill. Steve, before we get into your next bet, Astros at Rays, we spoke about the Atlanta Falcons. I know you live close to Atlanta. I like them to win the division at -120. Well, Teddy, he's not far from it. You know what? Screw off, Teddy.
How many hundreds of miles are you from Atlanta? What's it, a 6-hour drive?
That's pretty
But
close.
the only thing funny about it is I'd have to actually drive
like you
through
living close to
Carolina. I'd have to
Chicago,
drive through Charlotte.
Lawrence.
I'd have to drive through another
Okay.
divisional
Who
team to get there through
cares?
Charlotte.
Who cares? I like Atlanta to win the division at -120. Teddy doesn't. Do you have any thoughts on the Falcons winning the division?
No, I mean, the first thing that jumps out to me about that division in general is how weak it's been in recent years.
Yeah.
And I've made the joke you'd have to drive through Carolina to get to Atlanta, another divisional team. They were 2-15 last year. Tampa, New Orleans, I think it's wide open. If you're getting plus money, I wouldn't be against it. But I think it's a wide open division other than Carolina, probably.
Astros at Rays. How do we bet this game?
Yes, this is an interesting spot here because we get Tampa as a home dog. The Rays and Astros both got off to extremely slow starts this season after being, perennial powers for about the past decade, basically in the American League. One team, though, Houston, turned things around pretty quick after that 7-19 start. As we check the current standings, they are ahead of those Seattle Mariners by half a game entering tonight. And they have a net run differential of +62. Rays on the season now, 500 team, but they're 10.5 back in that tough AL East. They're 5.5 back from a wild card. And they're -54 on the run differential for the season. Houston's the better team here, and I think it's a good focus spot for them. They did play last night. Houston got a nice 6-1 win as a $1.20 favorite. Always like the better team in game one as a road favorite, so there's always that risk that maybe they take their foot off the gas a little bit after winning last night. But the fact that they're in a dogfight with Seattle in the West, I don't think they overlook any opponents. Tampa does not have much of a home field advantage. And, other than batting ninth in baseball, there's not a huge home field advantage anyway. I like laying the short number on the road, though. I still think we get a much cheaper price than if this game was in Houston. So I have no problem playing the better team with Kikuchi on the mound. Houston Astros here as the short favorite tonight at this also under 6:40 Eastern. In perspective, Astros are 7-3 their last 10, playing good baseball right now. They've won 6 straight entering this game, including that win last night. And we look at Kikuchi's numbers overall. He has struggled overall the last couple months, but he had a decent outing, 2 earned runs in 5 innings the last 2 times out. I think the bullpen will be in place sooner than later, but the Houston bullpen's been solid the last several months. That's actually where they really struggled back in April, but they've turned things around more than the Rays. And Baez on the mound for the Tampa Bay Rays, nothing special. He's given up 6 runs in his last 2 starts in just 9 innings. I like the Astros as a small road favorite in this one.
So Kikuchi faced the Rays over and over again with Toronto. He arrived in Houston and played against the Rays in his first start with the Astros, and now he's facing them again. So this is a lineup that is very, very, very familiar with the hurler that they're going to face. Does that concern you here? Kikuchi, to me, is a guy that I'm never impressed with him, dude. I tend to look to fade him more than I back him by a pretty wide margin. And here's a lineup that knows him. Talk to me about that nuance of the Astros-Rays matchup for tonight.
Yeah, well, I think he's still probably the better of the 2 pitchers, though. Shane Baz, 4.3 ERA on the season. He's got a 6.0 ERA in his last 7 starts going back to early July. So he's actually been in worse current form. I think Kikuchi also will get a little bit of a spark here being on a contender. We saw that, as you mentioned, in his last start. So maybe there's a regression here. And if you're worried about it, you can always play the over 7.5. I was surprised to see this total drop from 8 down to 7.5. It's a very reasonable number if the starters do struggle.
Steve Merrill, what do you got to promote?
Great special this week at WagerTalk.com. A great special right now where you buy 3 days, you get 7 days.
Yeah.
So it's basically buy 3, get 4 more days for free. For the price of 3, you get a full week, and that is all sports, every play, every day for the next 7 days and nights. I'm on a 53-34 baseball run the last 2 months. I've got a strong steamroller blowout tonight. And don't forget, I also post a free play every day on my page at WagerTalk.com. Also, like, subscribe, and consider clicking that bell for instant alerts. I'll have free baseball videos up each day this week. And right around the corner, my NFL Fade the Public College Football Top 25s. Click the bell when you subscribe here on Wager Talk TV.
Steve Merrill, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Teddy, one of our listeners, Nathan T., writes, Lauren smokes DMT. Is that a compliment, an insult, an observation? What is DMT? What does it stand for? What does it do? I love drugs, so why not?
You're asking me. I'm a 50-something who knows nothing about anything except for sports. And you're asking me about something from pop culture. I don't know what it is either. Never heard of it.
Okay, so Nathan, no idea what DMT is, but if you got some, come over. Let's give it a go. Teddy covers. Fun show, brother. I'm going to ask you about some NFL division wins tomorrow as well. You good with that?
I'm only good with it if you can figure out how to say the bet that you're talking about. NFL season win. Odds to win divisions.
We're going
You
odds
want to
to
sound
win.
like someone who's actually bet sports in your life, not like a guy that doesn't know the names of the bets you're talking about. So it's up to you.
DMT is a psychedelic. You smoke it very strong. Andrew Wojcicki. That sounds delicious. Teddy, see you tomorrow, bro. Take us home.
Yeah, enjoy your psychedelics today, Lawrence. I'll be recording Bet on it. That's going to wrap the Tuesday edition of WagerTalk Today. We'll do it again tomorrow. Same time, same channel, 9 a.m. here on the left coast. Noon for you back east. If you like the show, please tell a friend. Please give us a like. We appreciate it very much. Enjoy the games and best of luck with all your wagers. We'll see you guys tomorrow.